What's up everyone, it's ENDYMION, and from the new information I've gathered here from various sources, it looks like Disney is in a death spiral that, based on one analyst's beliefs, won't be fixed for years at this point. In fact, it's being said that the Walt Disney Company's financials are so mismanaged that the company will likely not become profitable within this decade, if you can believe it. It's really bad, fellas. Across the board, Disney is course correcting, so I'll be talking about that as well as Rachel Zegler's Hunger Games getting annihilated, and how Disney is effectively firing key people that have led them to this point. So, let's begin. To start, I want to look at the MCU, which is currently within its multiverse saga, which has been mostly missing the mark and has diluted the brand to almost Star Wars levels of apathy amongst fans. In terms of their latest movies, of course, we have the sludge known as the Marvels, which, as of the making of this video, has finished its second weekend at the box office. And it's no exaggeration to state that this movie's performance is nothing short of catastrophic. During its second weekend, the Marvels' box office dropped 80 to 87% based on various sources. Regardless, an 80 to 87% drop officially crowns the Marvels as the worst second weekend drop in superhero history. Absolutely no film comes close to it in this regard, and the film has barely made even half of its budget in cinemas. And that number will likely go into single digits within its third weekend. I wouldn't be remotely surprised if Disney just threw their arms up in the air and removed the film from theatrical release within the month. And I would wager we'll see the flick hit Disney Plus within 2 months at the latest. Disney Plus in general actually seems to be a big reason why Disney as a company overall is losing money big time as well. To say the streaming wars have ended in a big cacophony of smoke would be an understatement, as Disney seems to have ridden its own demise by pursuing other business structures like Netflix or Amazon does. Why, you ask? Well, prior to Disney Plus, if you wanted to see a new movie they made, you'd have to obviously get your butt to a theater in order to see something. But with the existence of Disney Plus, customers have realized that many of Disney's new movies oftentimes join the service a mere 2 to 3 months after they play in theaters. So what a lot of consumers are realizing is that they don't need to see anything Disney makes in theaters anymore. They can just be lazy and forget about it until one day they're bored 2 months from now, and then they watch that same movie in their house without strangers around them. Can you really blame people for doing that? I don't. I rent movies far more often than I watch them in theaters today. Besides movies I really need to see day one, like say No Way Home or John Wick. Besides that, I'm totally cool with sitting at home and watching it at a later date. And this is why so much of Disney's content just underperforms due to this. It's not just the apathy of fans, but the laziness and convenience of streaming that have ruined Mickey Mouse too. So the Marvels failing like it has is likely because of that. Just wait till it hits Disney Plus, and clearly, that 87% proves that's exactly what people are doing anyway. So it's clear that the MCU is in dire need of change, since so much stuff is failing and it feels diluted in many ways. Well, it looks like Disney is just nuking themselves from orbit, and they're firing people or shuffling them around in order to salvage what they can. Firstly, we have Jeff Loveness, who wrote Quantumania and has largely been the architect when it came to the character of Kang and his variants. Now it's being reported that Loveness has been fired from his position at Disney Marvel, and it's largely because they're throwing the entire concept of Kang into the abyss and starting over. Obviously, this is because Jonathan Majors has that domestic abuse case still ongoing. But also, it doesn't help that Quantumania had the next Thanos-level threat getting beaten by Ant-Man of all people. You can say what you will about Kang and how powerful he is, but if your next big bad is getting bodied in a fistfight with a 60-year-old Paul Rudd, and then he gets his ass handed to him by giant ants, it's hard to take Kang seriously, to be real with you. Sure, people will say it's a variant, but that's the other problem when it comes to the multiverse saga. The whole variant thing has diluted and ruined the stakes of the MCU. I would argue the concept of the multiverse ruins pretty much every story it touches these days anyway. Nothing makes me care less than knowing anyone who dies can immediately be replaced by an infinite number of other versions. And when I hear people discuss nonsense like how if you ate cereal one day, or if you chose to eat a banana instead, that it somehow now makes 2 different new universes where you ate something different for breakfast. Wow, so amazing. And now every single action you do, like you turned left instead of turning right, gives birth to an entire universe, where you decided to walk instead of using an Uber. is just so much unneeded nonsense, and I can feel my eyes getting heavy from boredom whenever someone talks to me about the stupid multiverse. So when Marvel banked so heavily on the concept, it did nothing but spell doom for the franchise going forward. And speaking of Doom, many websites and sources are all reporting that he may be the next big bad. Which is great since Doom has a big role in Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars that came out a few years back, where Doctor Doom becomes a badass god emperor who basically challenges the entire Marvel universe. And when that version of Secret Wars ended, it soft rebooted the entire Marvel Comics timeline, which is likely what Disney is building towards anyway, since again they crapped the bed already and have begun rolling in the sheets. Anyway, it seems based on many sites' reports that Disney is trying to course correct their failed Kang multiverse story by replacing him with Doctor Doom, and Mads Mikkelsen has been in talks to play the character. Yeah, I know he was in the MCU already, but he was wasted in that other role. And it's not like this isn't the first time Marvel has made two characters be played by the same actor in live action anyway. It also helps that Doom wears a mask, so in case we find out that Mads Mikkelsen has suplexed an old lady through his apartment floor, I guess it's fine since the character is wearing a mask anyway, so they can just recast it. Which is why I believe we'll never see a normal human actor portray the main villain of the MCU for an entire phase ever again, due to the whole major situation. In terms of other people getting fired, we should also remember that Disney also fired the entire writing and directorial staff for Daredevil Born Again 2. And that show is being reborn before it even happened due to how bad it was apparently. There's also another big oopsie in the fabric of Disney Marvel as well, which is before Secret Wars can even happen, what the hell is going on with the other Avengers movie? You know, the one called the Kang Dynasty. Well, the Hollywood Reporter has said that the Kang Dynasty is basically being erased from existence, and its director, Destin Daniel Cretton, who directed Shang-Chi, has left the project. He's still going to stay at Marvel though, as he's going to now make a sequel to Shang-Chi, which should delight Simu Liu since the guy has been hurting for acting roles since Shang-Chi has come out. Cretton is also developing a Disney Plus series on the Marvel character Wonder Man, who will, yet again, be race swapped because we can't have white male characters in leading roles these days, I guess, anymore. But if Wonder Man ends up being like the rest of Disney Marvel streaming shows, it'll probably be another stinker of a series anyway. I hope not, but their track record says otherwise. In terms of Disney turning this around and finally admitting that they were wrong with their moronic choices, according to Valiant Renegade, who had Nerdrotic on, and this would now make it the third video in a row I've made where Nerdrotic has showed up. And I swear that's not on purpose, he just seems to be wherever I end up looking, which is totally fine because he does great work. Anyway, he was on Valiant Renegade's livestream and had some words to say on Disney admitting their failure, so let's watch that quick.
But I had a conversation with somebody at Comic-Con, me and Garrett did on the floor, and it was enlightening. And it was with a person who potentially could work with Marvel, and that was the first person to tell me, like, first thing they told me is they know they screwed up and they're trying to fix things. And they tried to cancel Echo and couldn't due to contractual obligations. They tried, and this is after trying to fix it. They tried to fix it multiple times. They're like, it's not fixable. So we're just gonna like pretend as put it. This is not from my person, by the way. As put it from somebody at Marvel's, they're trying to skate over thin ice as fast as possible.
So in his own words, he explains that Echo is going to be a dumpster fire, and I wouldn't be surprised, since it's the only Disney Plus Marvel show so far anyway that's releasing all of its episodes at once, which I can only imagine is happening because Disney knows its ass. And they know if they drag this thing out for 8 or 10 episodes or however long it is per week, the discourse over the diminishing returns of the show's quality would keep Echo in the public eye for much longer than Disney would probably want it to. And they're probably hoping that if enough people consume the entire season immediately, it will boost the show's overall minutes watched and hopefully make it enter the Nielsen charts, which is wishful thinking and unlikely, but we'll see. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like Jeff Loveness, the Daredevil crew, and things like Kang Dynasty getting thrown away, that the people behind Echo join that same group and also get fired after its incoming nuclear reception. Then Valiant Renegade later on chimes in and claims the only way Disney will reach any sort of profitability is if they slash budgets and focus on quality instead. So let's give that a look too.
And that is that what I see going on is that all of these massive cuts in terms of the number of programs, especially the big ticket items, right? Bob Iger made it clear back in July, yeah, we got to kind of dial it back on the number of Marvel products that we put on Disney Plus. That's a big one. You're spending $200 million per production, on the small side, I guess, to put those things out. If you cut back on the number of those pieces of content and you pull back on the budgets of the content that you do let through, and if you then also compound that with price increases, they're mostly going to grow their way to profitability by cutting costs. That's what I'm seeing.
I'll leave a link in the description to that video, by the way, in case you want to check out Valiant Renegade's work. He, along with the others on the panel, do some good work. But this ongoing situation just keeps getting worse, man. Like, every time I think Disney can't hit new lows, they somehow reverse Super Saiyan themselves and achieve new forms of garbage. And like I've said previously, remember that all of these bad decisions were made because of Bob Iger, who runs Disney. And that guy is in power at that company until at least 2026. So whatever decisions he signs off on in his final year at the helm will likely be the base of what Disney releases until at least 2030. So if you think in the year that is 2023 that what Disney is doing here will be done and fixed by 2024, oh sweet summer baby, we are only beginning to see the depravity of Disney. Things are going to get much worse before they start to show any signs of getting better. Thankfully, only Deadpool 3 is coming out next year from Marvel, and that extra year will hopefully give Disney Marvel the time it needs to course correct itself. But a lot of the nonsense will still continue in 2025, since Fantastic Four will allegedly star Soy Man Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. And I have no hope for Blade at this point either. And let's not forget that a big reason why phases 4 and 5 didn't work is because they feel like homework when compared to previous phases. Before, Marvel would release 2 to 3 films a year and have them spaced enough that audiences would actually have the time and longing for the next installment. In the last 2 phases, Marvel has been releasing schlock that you basically have to watch in order to understand what the hell is going on when it comes to their latest movies. And while that's probably great for diehards, for the average movie-going audience, it clearly doesn't work. Think about it. Let's say you're a casual fan of Marvel movies. You saw Endgame, maybe No Way Home and Madness, but you're understandably a busy person who's got to do stuff in real life. Then Marvel introduces Miss Marvel in some Disney Plus show, but again, casual audiences are busy with life. Then Monica Rambeau is in WandaVision, which again, casual audiences clearly didn't watch. Then as someone who vaguely follows Marvel, you see a poster of these 3 women on your phone and you go, who the hell are these people? You have no idea who Miss Marvel or Photon is because life is busy. You got things to do and chicken schnitzels to eat. This problem didn't exist before because whatever you needed to know was provided in the 2 or 3 movies you saw every year. But now you got characters getting pushed into leading roles from shows that nobody watched, and these shows keep happening. I guarantee you there will be millions of casual viewers who will see the Secret Wars poster. They'll take one look at Echo and go, who the hell is that guy? And can you blame them? I don't, because this shit feels like homework now. I audibly groan when I realize I have to watch another MCU show to keep up to date because I already know it's going to be a waste of my time. I skipped 2 episodes of Loki Season 2 and went directly to the finale. And I'm not kidding you, I missed nothing in terms of context or plot. And now some casual viewer will see Loki show up in Secret Wars holding a bunch of green ropes and go, what the hell, I thought Thanos choked that dude out in Infinity War. And then their diehard fan friend will go, well, maybe if you spend 30 hours of your life consuming this slop like I did, you'd know that Loki repaired the multiverse, and this is the problem. It's like when Marvel has a mainline comic series and then they proceed to make 20 spin-off smaller comics. Nobody but the top 1% of consumers will actually read all of that. Most people don't have the time or money to sit through or read all the added context. You think some mom and dad who have to work 40 hours a week while dealing with their kids is going to waste what precious free time they have so they know who Echo or Monica Rambeau is? You gotta be out of your mind, dude, and clearly it ain't working anyway. If someone whose job it is like me is saying there's too much quantity over quality, you can bet your sweet butt cheeks there's millions of others who have way more responsibilities that won't even give this stuff a second glance at best. But this is what's happening when you rush a ton of projects after Endgame in order to capitalize on interest. Because they went for quantity over quality and you ended up with a boatload of stuff that was subpar at best. And now that those things aren't working, Disney's bright idea is to now rush their future movies to course correct in order to fix a problem that they created by rushing their projects in the first place. It's a self-inflicted disaster with no way out, except maybe eventually imploding within itself and causing the entire empire to burn. Which, I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's cool, I guess. But it's no wonder amidst all of this that Disney is still dealing with that hostile takeover, where Ike Perlmutter and Nelson Peltz are trying to buy their way into power over Bob Iger. And really, I can't blame them based on these past few years. If you want a short version of what's happening here, if you play the long game as Marvel's Phases 1 to 3 did, you make a lot of money. If you play the short game and rush, you end up with Phases 4 and 5. Now you tell me which sounds better, even though, let's be real, I already know your answer anyway. But now Marvel is in a state where they've rushed their way into an early grave. Fans have become apathetic, and creatives are getting fired while Mickey Mouse screams into his pillow. They've done it to themselves, and it just keeps getting worse. To end, let's look at Hunger Games, which has made around $100 million in its opening weekend on a $100 million budget. Which might sound good at first, but the film needs to crack $250 million in order to turn a profit. The film is the lowest rated in the franchise, and I would be shocked if it does turn a profit. And based on what I've seen about the film's plot, it's another prequel to a successful franchise that'll likely not be catching any fire anytime soon, the same way Fantastic Beasts crashed and burned as well. Is it because of Rachel Zegler being so prominent in the movie? I would wager it has an effect on its performance, yes. But it's also that Hunger Games and the whole young adult novel craze has come and went already. Nobody seems to care too much about things like Twilight, Hunger Games, or stuff like Divergent these days. It's a fad that's largely been moved on from, and superheroes are also starting to join that group too. But I think it's more a quality thing anyway. Oh well, the next big meta will be video game properties going forward. Five Nights at Freddy's is now the biggest horror release of the year, and if studios want to mine new areas, there's plenty of games that have great stories for it. And of course, the never-ending crusade to inject diversity into everything just keeps happening. Recently, Robert Kirkman, who wrote The Walking Dead and Invincible, just spoiled on a livestream that Steven Yeun will be playing the Sentry in Marvel's Thunderbolts. Firstly, just to catch you up on quick, the Thunderbolts are Marvel's Suicide Squad. And Steven Yeun looks about as close to the Sentry as I do to Storm from the X-Men. But who cares? It's more diversity, and that's our strength and whatever. Robert Kirkman said via a livestream, "He called me, he went in for a costume fitting. I don't think this is a spoiler or anything that'll get anybody in trouble. I don't know, maybe we'll see. I don't care, I don't work for Marvel, what are they going to do to me? He called me, he said, I just came back from a costume fitting for the Sentry, I guess I only do superheroes that are yellow and blue." Another account that leaks stuff pretty accurately and often said that the Sentry will be the main antagonist for the Thunderbolts. But Mistress Hydra is the real main villain. Obviously, Marvel is setting Sentry up to join the Avengers, since he's basically Superman in terms of power level. And he's yet again another character getting the race swap treatment because diversity equity indexes need to be fulfilled these days. At this point, I don't think I'm even mad when something like this happens anymore. If anything, I just expect it. I'm genuinely waiting for the X-Men casting to happen. And I would not be surprised if Wolverine ends up getting race swap too. Cause someone at Marvel will take one look at Wolverine during the Weapon X program and see all those white scientists and go, what if we made him black and a slave? The virtual pats on our back for being so progressive would be immense. I know I shouldn't put that thought out into the internet cause someone at Marvel will hear that and go, well, now we have to do it, but again, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. Maybe make Professor X a gay woman while you're at it. Why not? We already know they're gonna race and gender swap the entire X-Men to fit quotas anyway. The only character that'll still look the same is Storm, and we all know why, don't we? Ugh, I'm tired, man, these companies. We can't have shit these days, can we? But I would wager a lot of these will inject toxic feminism, identity politics, and other nonsense into them at some point as well. Oh boy, I can't wait to see what Hollywood does next. That's sarcasm, by the way, I hate it here. Anyway, I think this video is long enough. Disney fires people, everything is burning, Rachel Zegler and Mickey Mouse panic, and Kevin Feige's in the shower naked holding Iron Man's mask as he cries quietly in his mansion. Thank you for watching, dear viewer. Remember to take care of yourselves, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and have a wonderful day. Thanks to my patrons as always, and I'll see you in the next one.